Let's go. Yo. Get up, nah I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Tracks After Dark, Chicago Sports Podcast. No fluff, just real, raw Chicago sports talk. Straight from me to you. And y'all know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. And in the building, we've got a great man, and we're happy to announce, finally, without further ado, Big Game James from the live show, now being brought straight to your own home. How you doing, Big Game James?
I'm feeling good tonight. Let's have, just waiting for a really good show.
Yeah, man, you're looking good. You got some spirit wear. You got a nice flag behind you. I love the studio. Like how you're representing. So let's get into it, man. We've got a packed episode tonight. The Bears are making waves this weekend, boys. Ron Rivera, Super Bowl champion and former Bears defensive star, is getting a virtual interview for a coaching position. The Bears are also signing offensive lineman Jordan McFadden off waivers. What does this mean for the O-line? It can't get any worse. And former Bears head coach Matt Eberflus potentially landing a new gig with the Bengals as their defensive coordinator. There's no shortage of drama at Hallis Hall right now, and I've got all the details right here. So let's get into it. Our first segment is let's talk about the Ron Rivera interview, the Bears' new approach. So diving right into the Ron Rivera interview. Now, for you younger fans of those that might not know Ron Rivera's full history, let me break it down for you. Rivera was drafted by the Bears in the second round of the 1984 NFL Draft. He played linebacker and was part of a legendary defense that helped win the Super Bowl 20 in 1985, the last Super Bowl that the Bears freaking won. That's the same defense that still gets talked about as one of the greatest in NFL history. After retiring as a player in 1992, Rivera transitioned to coaching. He spent some time as the Bears defensive coordinator from 2004 to 2006, leading a defense that helped take the team to a Super Bowl XLI. The Bears didn't win that one, but that defense was something special, hard-hitting, relentless, and always a step ahead of opposing offenses. From there, Rivera went on to head coaching stints with the Carolina Panthers and Washington Commanders. But when he went over there, it wasn't the Commanders, it was the Redskins, and he dealt with all of that. In Carolina, he was named the NFL Coach of the Year not once, but deuce, and led the Panthers to Super Bowl 50. That's right, 50. Unfortunately, consistency has always been Rivera's challenge. His head coaching record is 102, 103 with 2 ties. One more tie than I have in my closet. With playoff success, it's been hit or miss. What role would Rivera play? So, why is Chicago bringing Rivera in for an interview, Big Game James?
I think they're bringing him in for namesake. One of the last times they had a culture was back in that Super Bowl team, and he was the D coordinator then, and he was the architect of of that great defense. So I think it's just more, but at this point, it's more due diligence. But I could see them trying to bring back some of that mentality that they had back in that 05-06 team.
Yeah, I do too, man. But let me ask you another question. Could they be looking at him as a serious head coaching candidate? Do you really think that this is something that they're seriously looking at, or is this just kind of like a let me help you out, Ron? Let me put you back on the radar?
It might be a little bit of that, but I also think that it could be, yeah, like I said, a little bit of that. But repeat that again. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I said, could the Bears be looking at him as a serious head coaching candidate?
Yeah, they're probably just helping them to get back on the map, and that's about all I got to say.
Well, I think two things could be true at the same time. I think they're trying to help him out because he's such a good guy. I mean, he is so storied that even Virginia knows him and is a fan of him. I mean,
Oh,
he's awesome, dude. He's been
yeah,
there for
fan favorite, and he always will be.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, who else better? You look at it, everybody gives the Bears a hard time for passing up on, um uh like former Chicago Bears players that could be, a a head coach here, right? Everybody gives them a hard time. But hey, you got one right here in the building and they address that. Okay. Did they before? Did they pass one up that just lost heavily against Houston? I was rooting for the Chargers, by the way, only because of Harbaugh. But
Oh yeah.
hey, listen, here you go. You got Ron Rivera. You passed up on Harbaugh, but you got Rivera. Let's look at that. Okay. Let's look at that. So,
what I was going to say too, what I was going to chime in with is I think Rivera might more or less be just the backup plan in case, A, B, and C fall through too.
oh yeah, I mean, there's always that, and and that is a good C plan. That's not nothing to frown upon. That might be like a sub B plan. You know what I mean? Like a BA and a BB or something, or a B1 and a B2. You know what I'm saying? So,
right, with one of the top candidates, possibly coming off the board. I mean, you already know who my favorite is, so we.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Into that. We gotta leave a little, something left. But Kevin Warren's, Ryan Poles, and the rest of the Bears and the front office are playing chess, not checkers. At least we hope not. They're rebuilding a foundation. Rivera could be brought in as a defensive coordinator to work alongside a fresh, innovative head coach, someone like Ben Johnson for the Lions, or even a candidate we don't know about yet, like a dark horse, like somebody in there. I mean, even though he's coming in for a head coach, now you could slide him in on the backside if he don't get picked up as a head coach, but you still did your due diligence and gave him a favor, be like, oh, you were an option, but you weren't our number one. How about you kind of look at the defensive coordinator position? And if the head coach doesn't work out right, you could slide right in there like you did in Washington. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. I'm just hypothetically saying, spitballing or whatever. Or you could just be a part of something that really shores up something great in Chicago and come back to Chicago. There's a lot of ways to spin this, but either way, I could see a positive spin on it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be all negative.
Well, absolutely.
And the fact that he knows what it's like to win as a Bear, what it's like to coach as a Bear, and both those Super Bowls, he was, at a high level. I mean, let's not frown upon the fact that the defense, other than Hester and the special teams, the defense was something to look at in that Super Bowl. That he was a defensive coordinator. You know what I'm trying to say? Uh-huh. And as a player in the 85 Super Bowl. I mean, both times we really needed him. So I think we need him now. I think we need somebody now. And, you look at guys like Kafka, people. Here's the thing, guys. I'm looking in the chat. Not in the chat, but I'm looking in Facebook, Instagram. Not so much Instagram right now because I'm freaking locked out of it. Damn it! But but I'm looking at all these. We're all over social media, everywhere, man. We are everywhere, and some of the Bears fans and followers of ours are actually frowning upon Mike Tomlin. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Mike Tomlin? I mean, like,
He's never
obviously,
losing season.
his team did not look like they belong in the playoffs against Baltimore. Let's not get it twisted, but they endured a lot this year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, Mike Tomlin for like what 18 years. It's unbelievable. There's been three head coaches like 50 years that Pittsburgh has had, and he's been one of them, bro. And he hasn't had a losing season, right?
Right. Never had a losing. He's been one of the gold standards for coaching the past 18 years. I don't see how anybody could be against Tomlin.
Not only that, but listen, here's the deal. I'm going to tell you right now. It is something to look at in terms of like, what would you give up? Well, what does he unlock? If he's unlocked all that over 18 years and just like really like has not had a losing season, like, my God, I would love to go 18 years as a Chicago Bear fan and not have a freaking losing season. You know what these podcasts would be like? It would be bananas, dude.
Yeah.
Like, we wouldn't have to say much. We wouldn't have to work hard. We'd just be like, this guy's good. This guy's good. Our coach is the bomb. Mic drop. You guys, you take over the rest of the show.
Yeah. There wouldn't be much of a show.
No, you wouldn't need much of a show, man. The show would be the players, the show would be the coach,
Yeah.
I want to address something Plank said, and I know he comes from a good, spirit and everything. Shout out to Plank. Love you, buddy. I feel like this is a Rooney Rule. Listen, that's already been taken care of. The Rooney Rule's already been established. They've already had two people in the building, and he's a third. So, in terms of that, you already look at, Thomas Brown, and then the other would be the defensive coordinator for the Lions. So that's already established. You don't need a third in terms of the Rooney Rule. You only need two. This is somebody that has this is somebody that is worth their salt in Chicago Bear history. And this is something that a lot of people have been complaining about, the fact that we haven't. This guy freaking, we'll get into it, but this dude beat cancer, man. This dude beat when the whole dysfunction of Washington sucks, so let's fight over whether they should be the goddamn Redskins or be the Commanders, Salamanders, whatever the hell their freaking name is. And now you get Magic Johnson coming in as a partial owner, and he's like, we need to bring it back to the Redskins. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, do you think even any of that had anything to do with the fact that they're in the damn playoffs this year? No, absolutely not. It's just a freaking sideshow. It's freaking ridiculous. Whatever. You know what I mean? So, I mean, look at it this way. The Chicago Blackhawks are still the Blackhawks. Do you think anybody left sleep or freaking didn't get any extra money from a casino? Absolutely not. So, this whole thing is just out of pocket, and he had to deal with all that. And then he had to deal with freaking surviving and beating cancer and kicking cancer's ass. I mean, we got that in our own backyard. Shout out to freaking Scott Bridges. You know what I mean? But my whole point about this is, if there's a fighter amongst us, it'd be this guy. And I'm not saying he's number one, but he's definitely not last. It's definitely somebody worth having a conversation about, instead of goddamn freaking Kafka or Kifka or whatever, and that freaking stooge from Arizona, and all these freaking guys. Like, I feel like this is just a dial it up favor for these guys. You know what I mean? This guy has actually earned his shit as a player and as a coach, man.
Agreed. Yeah, because I couldn't stand it if they hired the guy from the Giants. Like, come on.
Oh God, yeah. Kafka, yeah, freaking unbelievable, man. So, I mean, see, here's the deal, man. Rivera could be brought in as a defensive coordinator, at the very least. Very nice one, albeit, but we don't really know yet what's going on. But the Bears are doing their homework. They're interviewing potential coordinators even before deciding on a head coach. That's smart. It gives them flexibility and ensures that they have a strong supporting staff lined up no matter who takes the head coaching reins, right? So let's break down Ron Rivera's resume, okay? Buckle up, youngsters, because you're about to go on a ride for something that you have not experienced in Chicago if you're younger than I am and younger than freaking Big Game James is. So let's break down Rivera's head coaching stats, man. Okay. He's got a near 50-50 win-loss record. When has the last time that happened in Chicago Bears history? It's been a while. And this is coming over three different teams. Okay. So it's not just one. Okay. 3 double-digit win seasons, but those were spaced over his career. Consistency just wasn't there. And that's not all his fault, man. Playoff record, 3 wins. How many have we had? 5 losses, okay? Yeah. Super Bowl appearances, 1 as a player, 1 as a head coach. How many people out of the 20-something in the whole Rolodex that we have there is a Super Bowl player and as a coach? Not many, right?
No, can count on one hand.
Rivera's defense has always been tough, disciplined, and aggressive. But offensively, that's where his teams have struggled. It begs the question, does Ron Rivera have what it takes to lead a modern NFL team, or is he better suited as a defensive coordinator? Let me know in your thoughts below. We'll get back to him later, but not quite just yet. So, here's what I will say this before we get into the comments in a little bit later after we break down all the segments. I will say this. Back in the day when he was courted as a Carolina Panther head coach, he sent his assistants and coordinators to go down to Auburn to study and do a deep dive of Cam Newton and see what they unlocked in order to make him a Heisman Trophy champion. And guess what he found out? He found out how to do that in Carolina at a very high level, to the point that Carolina had an MVP on their hands and the best player on their damn team. So even though you're a defensive coordinator, that doesn't mean that you cannot and you don't have to be a micromanager. You can go tell people who you know and trust at that skilled position, at that skilled mindset as a coordinator, and say, listen, take your boys, ride out, come back. This is what I need. And they came back and boom, there you go. This is a guy that knows how to freaking do it the right way. You can still win having a defensive-minded freaking head coach because he wants to do what it takes to win at all levels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now let's get into the Bears signing of offensive lineman Jordan McFadden. Now I know this isn't really something to lose sleep over. 5th round draft pick. The Chargers got rid of him. They needed to make room for midriff t-shirt wearing freaking, failing running back from the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. That's what this was about. And honestly, a lot of people said, and I agree. Do you get rid of a good offensive lineman in the NFL? Absolutely not. But let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at him and see what we got. Because as I could see, as you could probably see, we shouldn't be turning our nose up to anybody right now, especially where they're at right now. I mean, some of these guys might not even make the freaking squad, okay? But you can get your numbers up in the 90s and really fluctuate and go heavy, in the numbers and see what you got once you got them in the building. At any rate, getting McFadden in the building is a healthy, way to have some competition inside of it, and put some guys with their heads on a swivel and say to, I'm the best freaking fly on the turd pile. I
Yeah.
might I might stay. You know what I'm saying? What do you got to say about that, Big James?
Well, I did a little diving into, into his fast score, Ross, or I mean Ross scores, and what he lacked in what he was strength and size. So
Yeah.
he could be a, they could get him, hit in the weight room, get him a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
He could maybe turn into something because he actually did grade out with elite speed and elite agility.
Bro, I want to know about that speed, big game, James, because at 6'2", 303 pounds, the only time that I had any speed was when I was at the canteen at the steel mill, or as I at a freaking buffet trying to pull up belly style.
Yeah. He, from what I understand, he ran a 4.9
Woo!
40 at the or combine or whatever.
From Clemson. That's a
Yeah,
good big time college, guys.
yeah. Runs a 4.9 at a little over 300 pounds. That's very impressive.
And what I like about him is he's tough in run blocking. And that's what we need to be good at. We need to be good at run blocking. And if he's good, he's going to make people better in competition. So if he loses out, we know that as long as freaking a guy that doesn't rhyme with the name of Chris Morgan as an offensive freaking line coach is in there, that if we see McFadden go, that our offensive line got better, right? Because if not, he would stay, in
Yeah.
my opinion, without seeing this guy up close. I mean, he's only 25 years old, meaning there's still plenty upside, and I don't see a whole lot of injuries on there. He's not perfect. His pass protection needs some serious improvement. So I
Yeah.
would put him on the right side instead of the blind side, right?
Oh,
But
absolutely.
and his injuries have limited just 13 games with 3 starts over 2 seasons. But when you look at that in terms of other freaking guards that we had that we paid through the nose over, you could seriously say, hey, this is potentially what we had as Tevin Jenkins' replacement. Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it, dude. That's what we legit did. Like, we really had a second rounder who should have been a fifth rounder, in my opinion, without letting it all, settle out. So we'll see, though. We'll see.
On Jenkins just yet. I think they need to at least give him another year or two.
No, I do too. But here's what I'd like to see. I would like to see some sort of performance incentives, give him a base pay. And if he plays at the level and has enough time on the field as a top 15 guard, then pay him as a top 15 guard. But
Well, here's the thing: they need to move him back to the right side.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, he was on an all pro level trajectory till they had to move him to the left side, and then then the injuries started and little inconsistency here and there. But for the most part, he was still pretty solid. But they
Right.
definitely need to move him back to the right side.
But that's what I like about McFadden's versatility to play at multiple positions on the line. He could be a valuable asset in training camp, especially with the injuries the Bears' offensive line have faced in recent positions in recent seasons. And I think that speaks, that listen, there's going to be a lot of sorting through. I hope at least there's a lot of sorting through, because we do not and cannot afford to have another 70 sack season, even though I understand that Caleb was almost halfway responsible for half of those. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know,
So,
but I think it was more 70-30. But
well, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
but still, he still played a good part, is my point,
no,
And here's the deal. I would like to talk about Matt Eberflus interviewing for the Bengals defensive coaching job, because honestly, that's how bad the defensive coordinator, that's how much they need a defensive coordinator over, in Cincinnati. And you could see it. You could see it as clear as day. people were asking about having him come back to here. Listen, you all were worried about freaking having Fields and Caleb in the same building as freaking quarterbacks. Imagine having a guy 3/4 of the way done with the season as a head coach, still paying him, and then double paying him to come back because you're still paying him until he's done with his full tenure.
Yeah,
Having him come back as a defensive coordinator and then double dipping and paying him for that, and like that would just be weird. That'd be so weird to have in the locker room and damn near everywhere. Like
yeah, that
him not even being in that coaching like in the his office and all that kind of stuff and all the normalcy that he was a part of and everybody seeing him like that would just be weird in general. You know what I mean? And like, what about at press conferences? They're gonna freaking poke the bear, bro.
yeah. Oh, I could see that if turning into an episode of The Office. You know.
Yeah, you wouldn't need freaking TMZ there. You wouldn't need HBO to come back, in the building and all that kind of stuff. Hey, and maybe the McCaskies had it right. Maybe HBO should have never freaking showed up. That's all I got to say about that because, like, this season was redunculous. And I want to have a whole show based on strength of schedule because I firmly believe if you look at teams like, you look at teams that only got 6 wins, okay, like the San Francisco 49ers. You look at teams like the Vikings. If anybody says that you projected the Vikings to have 14 wins with their freaking starting quarterback as a rookie out and have freaking Sam freaking Darnold come in and have an amazing blockbuster season and the defense to shore up and the offensive look good and have the second best freaking record in the NFL, I will say that you're lying. You better wash your mouth up with soap and never kiss your mama with that mouth because you're a freaking nasty, dirty liar. There's no freaking way, man. Not even freaking Nostradamus could pick this one out, buddy.
Yeah, no, I'll be the first to admit I had my preseason predictions. I had Minnesota at the bottom.
So did I, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like last year, we were projected to be, we went on a 10-game losing streak and all that, and we finished. We had 7 wins and blah blah blah. There's so much left to be seen. I mean, it's ridiculous. Nobody knew what Jordan Love was going to do. I legit thought that the Packers were going to do way better than the Vikings, just like you did. And I would have never thought in a billion years that Detroit would come back. In my opinion, and history has always shown this, Detroit is always going to be Detroit. The Lions are always going to lion. And hey man, I'm sorry. I don't know nothing about football. And I always start off a lot of our shows online that I don't know shit about football. And this is a season where I don't know shit about football because I did not know like these teams were legit going to be where they're at today. So strength of schedule, I can understand it in other sports, big game, James, and you know where I'm coming from because each team has 53 and each team, like that's a lot of players on each team. Times 32, that's a lot of players. That's a lot of moving parts, injuries, whatever. To me, I feel like, and I don't know if this is like the way media is right now, but I really feel like injuries are on the rise this year. You know what I'm trying to say?
Injuries actually the last 3 years have been steadily going up every year.
Yeah. Whether you got the freaking Guardian helmet on or not, and that's why I feel like we really need to look at a running back because Rashawn is like Rashawn Salam 2.0, where we can't depend on him and we need to go ahead and get somebody because if you're just looking at Swift to ride it, that's not your horse, bro. I mean, he's a good running back, but I don't want to get off topic. I've already have for a little bit.
No, just to finish what you were saying, Swift be better utilized as the lightning to someone else's thunder,
Yeah. No, that's great. That's a great point. I love that. I like that. That's why I look at a guy like Gentry. And now that we got 2 second-rounders and 2 third-rounders, as long as Ian Cunningham goes and we get that compensation pick, hey, I'm all for especially if you could trade back and get him later, a couple, 2, 3 picks later. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm just saying you got to look at what all the other teams needs and be very clever about it. I'm sure there's even other running backs that's just as proven as Gentry. But I do like that guy, man. I mean, I seen a guy earlier who was basically explaining to me that he kind of looks at Gentry as like a Marshawn Lynch, but more explosive. I'm like, give me the Skittles, baby. Let's go.
Oh,
You know,
no, I like him, and I also like the Scatabo, man. That kid is tough.
Yeah. I mean, you look at him, look at the Michigan Wolverine running back, Penn State. There's some good running backs out there. You could get them later in the rounds, or you could jump up and get, a guy. And I understand Detroit, what they did and all of that, but I think they solidified. Listen, they have 3 first-round draft picks on the offensive line. They got a left tackle, a right tackle, and a center. And I think, in terms when you look at that, okay, that's where you look at we're not there yet. And I think do you get better as a running back? And I said this earlier in today's show. Shout out to everybody that was here with Coffee with Tracks, and shout out that's everybody here tonight that's here with Tracks After Dark and with our boy Big Game James. But listen, I'm going to tell you something. We need depth at the running back position. I don't think we need a home run hitter. If we had the proper offensive line, then and only do we go after that guy. But I think if we can build that offensive line up, that will not only change an impact and make the running back or backs better, but also the quarterback. So it's a dual purpose at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, and I'm not saying don't skimp on running back. Absolutely. Go look at some in free agency, do your due diligence, and pick one up in the mid to late rounds. But we got to address them trenches, okay? And I'd like to have you back on with the show to where we could talk about trenches because I know you appreciate that,
Oh, absolutely.
So, but in other Bears related news, let's circle back to the Matt Eberflus thing, man. I barely can say his name without freaking almost vomiting in my mouth. Okay. Cincinnati Bengals, they're going to look at this guy. And let's be honest, his time as a head coach in Chicago was far from memorable, right?
Right.
All bad memories, PTSD. But as a defensive coordinator, the man knows what he's doing. He was the last guy in the building that could actually call a freaking defense. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, look at for when they fired him. Look what happened. The very next game, the defense seemed to just fall apart. They were good. He was still running a good defense until he was fired, and then the defense went downhill since he was gone.
And and to piggyback off of what you just said is you look at that in terms of a guy who had the locker room, he had fans, not fans, but people that backed him because he backed them and brought them in the building. Without him, they wouldn't be there. You're talking about coaches, assistants, you're talking about players that gave these guys a chance. And when you do that in the middle of the season, it really causes discord. That is part of one of the many fractures that we have in our foundation. And I don't see us, did we gain anything? Could we have possibly still won that game against Green Bay, the last game of the season? Absolutely. Absolutely we could, my boy. For sure. The man knows what he's doing. When he was with Indy, that defense was a force to be reckoned with. I'm not saying that they were top 5 or whatever, but the guy knew what he was doing for sure. I know that they were trying to move on from him, but Pat McAfee said it best, dude. He goes, he saw, and we should do a show about this. There's shows and ideas popping off left and right, but Pat was like, listen, he had his come to Jesus moment when he said, these boys checked out. They're thinking about a vacation, the Bahamas, whatever. So are the coaches. He goes, you should be ashamed of yourself. I am no longer a season ticket holder. I do not want to go see that. It is ridiculous. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said, So I don't think that they got any better because he left. If anything, they got worse. But the fact that they were going to freaking ship him off Big Game James and look at them is part of the reason they're so dysfunctional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean I mean, you can look at anything with hindsight, but really, if any, they should have hired him as the defensive coordinator, not the head coach. He'd
Yeah.
probably still be there if he was got hired on as the D
Yeah.
coordinator.
No. I agree. And you look at guys like, Vic Fangio over in Philly. He's making $4.5 million. Highest paid defensive coordinator in the league. He's
Yeah,
doing pretty good over there.
yeah. What
But
I tell when we were talking the other day, what I tell you about Fangio, I'm like, I wish we still had him.
I know you told me. I was
Yeah.
listening. But hey, listen, if the Bengals bring him in for their defense, which, uh, already has some talented young players already, right? They could become a problem for opposing offenses. I'm wishing Eberflus the best of luck, dude. I really hope he does well. I mean, I don't hate him. I just don't want him here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
he can't call an offensive game for shit. But
I'm wishing his, new groom, new look with the, that beard and all that stuff, the best of luck. But I'm glad that he, took the Shoelace Express out of town. You know what I'm saying? So, but if we see him again next season when the Bears face off against Cincinnati, we'll be ready for that one, right?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Hey,
There's
the
gonna be
NFL knows what they're doing, bro. They know what they're doing. Jeez. Think about that. The Eberflus could be going to the Bengals when we play them next year. What does that say? Gee.
yeah.
So, all right, Chicago, Big Game James and I, we're telling you it's your turn. We've got 5 questions for you to answer in the comments. I want to ask Big Game James some of these questions first, and then we'll hand it off to you, okay? And we'll open up the chat. Thank you all for showing up. Make sure you hit a like. Thank you guys for all hitting up the comments. If you're new, please subscribe. And thank you for coming to the show. We really appreciate you. So our first question to you is, Big Game James,
Oh yeah.
should Ron Rivera be considered for a head coaching role, or is he better suited as a defensive coordinator?
I think he should be considered, as we were saying earlier, as that B1 plan. But if anything, I would love to see him come in as the D coordinator with the intent, maybe a little bit down the road, that he could get the head coaching position.
Right. And you know what? That might be a succession plan if you brought in a guy like Pete Carroll. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. I see a guy like Vrabel already being signed as, I think they're working out details right now with the Patriots. It's already, the ink's starting to fly across the paper. So that guy's gone. So now who do you look at? There's only a couple seasoned, head coaches out there that could make an immediate impact right now that won't be like a sort of like, test, test tube or, like trial and error, trial by fire, with a coordinator. We want like a head coach in here and we want to win now. And we've got like a 3-year window for all of these like studs in the building to win right now before the freaking contracts get bananas,
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be something to look at for sure, So, and is he a hidden gem or just a roster filler in terms of Jordan McFadden? Do you think he could be a hidden gem or just a roster filler, bro?
There's always that potential with anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at this point it's just a roster filler. But if he can, if he has a good camp, he could probably carve himself out a nice role as like a swing tackle or swing guard, or move around the line as depth.
I tell you right now, I told this to Jim Miller. You were there at the shout out to you and Eric for helping out and all that you guys do, man. And Tony, appreciate you guys for being at the casino for our premiere with Jim Miller. That was a great, show against, the Packers, and they showed up. I think there was maybe 7 seats open. It was like packed, man. And they brought the energy. And against, we had a 4-win team. That shows you what kind of like community we've built and the love that they had for us and our Chicago Bears, man. It was really cool, man. It brought some tears to my eyes. But I mean, when you look at that, man, I told Jim, I said, you look at our team and we're really looking into a good season to be 1-0, against the Packers, to be 1-0 at Lambeau, to be 1-0 in 2025. There's a lot of firsts that could really look good for this year. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they couldn't have gone with such a bad season. They couldn't have gone off on a better note than to beat the Packers at Lambeau. So they're going to ride that high into next season.
And I don't think there's any team out of all 32 teams, even if you just came in and you're a freaking rookie coach or a player or anybody, that doesn't understand and appreciate the rivalry, even though it's been lopsided against the Packers and the freaking Bears.
Yeah.
Every division, every conference has freaking rivalries, even in college, even in high school, and I know that stuff matters. And for us to end out on a high note and freaking do that, that was pretty freaking amazing, wasn't it, bro?
Yeah, yeah, it was. That's a Bears fan Super Bowl right there.
Oh man, that I'm gonna clip that. That was a good one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who do you think the Bears' next head coach should be?
Well, we've gone, talked at length about that over the last, couple, but my pick's Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
I think, he's got that, you bring him in, it's a win now type situation, and he knows how to build a roster. He's won at every level. He's high energy, and he brings a culture, and we haven't had a team identity culture since Lovey left.
Yeah.
And that's, he checks every box for us except for probably the age thing, but he's the youngest 74-year-old you're ever going to meet. This guy is so high energy.
Yeah, and they talked to him a couple weeks ago after he was, parasailing in Aruba with his family and all that kind of stuff. And he went over, and what does a regular 72-year-old guy do when he retires or moves on from a position? Okay, he goes and he hangs out at home, maybe grabs a fishing pole, takes it easy. What does he do? No, he goes over and he hangs out with students, and he freaking coaches at USC, man. The guy still brings it, man. He's still high energy. He didn't lay down. He didn't take the year off. He was helping out with even like his family members and stuff. Like, you're looking at like little pee-wee football and all this. Like, he was everywhere. Like, you could not, he was an Energizer bunny, man. Like, seriously, some of us that are really looking at him and being hard on him for his age, at our age, we can't outwork him. I guarantee you, like, I saw a video. I don't know if you've seen this. You probably did. But you seen a video where his hands were down in the dirt in a 3-point stance, teaching linemen, showing linemen by example how to get into it and help and work with them, quarterbacks and everything. And it was funny because I said, maybe Pete's going to come out there, Pistol Pete. He's going to come out here with a paintball gun and start lighting up freaking Caleb if he holds on to the ball for too long. And if the offense and if the paintball gets to Caleb before he gets rid of the ball, that means he probably got sacked. So you should go ahead and light up all the offensive linemen too. He goes, that's a little bit too aggressive, Brandon. I said, hey, if you've ever been hit by a paintball, you won't want to make the same mistake, especially if you put them in the freezer, because those hit even harder.
Yeah, well, that's a lot better than when I played. If we made any mistakes, it was running ladders till we puked.
Yeah, sometimes running, you probably would rather get hit with a paintball, right? So yeah, let's get into the fourth question, and we'll open up. We got one more after that. We'll get into the comments afterwards. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. Can Matt Eberflus succeed as a defensive coordinator again, or has his coaching repetition taken him too big of a hit? What do you guys think? What do you think, Big Game James?
Oh, I think he still has it. Yeah, as a defensive coordinator, like I said earlier in the show, look at how the defense dropped off from the moment he was fired. So meaning he still can run a defense. Just for the future, don't nobody give him a head coach position.
Right? No,
Yeah,
don't. No. And think about it. You've been in a high stressful situation. We all have when we took a little bit too much on. Imagine taking yourself back to that, not saying that we were any less or more stressed than he was, but just trying to put yourself in a high stress situation. And then all of a sudden, you get it pulled from underneath you, and you're like, well, wait a second. I was so stressed out, but it didn't end on the terms that I wanted to. But after a little while, you're like, man, this feels pretty nice. My focus is back. My life is back. I'm not really getting any of the perks that I had, but I'm not having to do all the works that I had to do either. So he might actually enjoy this chapter of being a defensive coordinator, and he might really be able to focus and see things differently from a different lens and end up actually being better, you know?
yeah. Look, what was it, about 4 or 5 games that we lost that we could have won,
Yeah,
and that was by a mental error or a
right,
blocked field goal or this or that. Now, how much of that was bad call or just like you were saying, stressed out and under pressure that he just
bro.
made the wrong call?
Yeah,
um how much of it was just him being a bad coach and how much of it was him just being under pressure and stress? We don't know till
yeah,
he's in a different organization.
yeah. No, I agree. So, last but not least, what's the number one move that the Bears need to make to get back into the playoff contention? What do you say, Big Game James? For me, it's getting the freaking right leadership in the building. Head
Yeah,
coach, coordinators, all that. The players, I feel, will follow if we get the right guys in place.
my number one is hire Pete Carroll.
Man, I couldn't say it any better, man. I really hope that guy makes it. I know that the first time that they talked to him, they got all the question and answers out of the way. They spent about a week with him. Now, this time, it was just, hey, basically, did you lay out a succession plan? And he
Yeah.
did. He said, who's going to succeed and take over for him? And will he come back and be a senior, consultant? And
No,
he's not going to let whatever he did to rebuild and build this foundation and be a culture changer to let it all fall to the wayside. Like, he's here, and once he's here, he will make sure that we're in a good position. You know what I mean?
you know keep what he's built in place even long after he's
Yeah,
gone. And any great head coach
yeah.
at that age would do the same exact thing.
I mean,
So
I don't see Seattle really falling off too bad. I mean, they don't look too great, but I do like my buddy Leslie Frazier over there, and on the defensive side of things, I think he's done pretty good. I really like how Gino is still, being Gino, and I think they've done a pretty good job, all things considered. When you get those injuries at the wrong time in the offensive line, they definitely got to do their due diligence and build that thing up. And they've got a similar situation with the trenches that we do. But I mean, they're not horrible team, man. They're not. They're a pretty good team,
they
So.
they, they did a lot better with a mediocre roster than you would think.
Yes, I couldn't say it best. All right, let's get into the chat, man. Let's see what these guys got. James Childers in the building. Appreciate you, James. Thank you so much. Got a good name there, don't he?
Yeah,
No argument from you. He said,
yeah.
I would love Ron Rivera as a head coach. He knows the culture, how Chicago operates. Plus, he was a defensive coordinator under Lovie Smith when the Bears went to Super Bowl. Hey, listen, you make a good point. He was there under a coach of Ditka. He was there under a coach of Lovie Smith. You can't go wrong with those guys, you know.
No.
Plank said it was a nice catch. He was talking about something good, I'm sure. Shout out to Plank. On a side note, these playoff games have been a dud. You know what? I was going to say that. I was really disappointed in that Charger game, man. Unbelievable. I was looking at that and I was just like, field goal, field goal. I was up at Bridges for a little bit and I was just like, my God, bro. I mean,
I started to do the laundry. I walked away.
Del Praz, hey, thanks for being a first-time follower. Well, I hope you're a follower. If not, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and smash that notification bell so you can see all of our great content from Chicago sports. He says, I got to go to the Chargers versus Texans wildcard playoff game with his dad. It was loud. Texans wide receiver Nico Collins signed his jersey. I was sitting at the Texas sideline. Whoa! I hope Del Prods is still here. That's freaking awesome, bro. Shout out to you.
Yeah, Nico Collins is a stud, by the way.
Dude, that's a pretty big day. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty jealous of this guy. Shout out to Del Prods, man. Plank says Cricket Commish. I'm with you on that. Del Prod, that rocks. Del Prods, you'll want to frame that. Yes, definitely get that framed for sure. Vizzo Joe. Shout out to Vizzo Joe, man. He says Tomlin hasn't been able to find a good OC in the last few years. I can't disagree with you on that. I do not think Arthur is the guy for sure. I'm surprised that they're actually looking at him in other organizations. I think he might just need to take a year off to cool it, you know. But Plank said Viz Joe 100. James is back in it. He said, I get all kinds of grief because I'm a lone Bears fan where I work. I think he's from, I know he's originally from this area, Big Game James, but I think he moved to Wisconsin if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, being a Bears fan's out there is a little bit, rocky, bro.
Yeah, that's dangerous. I quick funny story about that, and it wasn't even Bears. It wasn't even Bears Packers. I went up there for a Milwaukee Brewers game, and walked out with my Cubs jersey. I didn't even get out the car door, and I already had people screaming at me. I was like, "Ooh, maybe I shouldn't have wore this Cubs jersey." So they're crazy about their about Chicago fans up there.
Oh, I bet, man, for sure. Like we were talking about earlier, the rivals and all that kind of good stuff, man. That's what we like, man. We love all that good stuff as far as fans. This is a show created by fans for fans, Plank said the DC was over video. Rooney Rule has to be face to face. Well, I don't know if it does have to be face to face because a lot of that is probably like I'd like to see that in writing. I think some of that's conjecture. I think, if you do your due diligence and an interview's an interview, if you get past the first round, it's past the first round. I don't think it changes much as far as video as it does in person. Like, what are you changing? You already know what you're looking at on the freaking video. It's all about, looking up through Zoom. Like I can see you. It's a video interview. It's not just over the phone. I know what I'm getting into. So I don't know about that, man. I consider that, conjecture. So I'm going to have to pass on that one. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying we need to look into that a little bit more. I think anybody that is, you're looking at in terms of, hey, and listen, when you look at defensive coordinators and you look at coaches, the NFL has already spent over $800 million. $800 million. So if you guys ever want to complain about these freaking players getting paid the way they get played, look at the money that these teams throw around and they pay to have freaking coaches sit and take new coaches on year after year. $800 million. This is a big thing. This is a big problem where you're not letting coaches. And, that's one thing that I will say about the Bears. I'm not really so happy about it because I see other teams that are moving quickly on. And there's the other side of it too, where, you don't really allow them to get a full team underneath them, under their belly, and be able to get a full roster and everything to see exactly what they could do with that, And to that point, Matt Eberflus might not ever know, but it went from like 3-7 to 4. So I didn't see, and they probably was just like, it's time to move on, But at the end of the day, $800 million is a lot of money to be spending on freaking coaches and general managers. And it's not just the freaking Chicago Bears, Maybe we've spent like 700 million on it and the rest have paid 100 million on it, but
They're
it's a
around
lot.
money, throw a little our way,
Yeah, for sure. Well, oh yeah, absolutely. Let's take a little bit off of the ticket sales and the merch. You know what I mean? Like, I
Okay.
really think that needs to be looked at. Why are we paying full value of something that's crap? Craptastic.
Yeah, I agree.
That could be another show. James
Yeah.
says, I've driven my coworkers crazy with my ringtone, Chicago Bears fight song. I bet you have, James. Oh, God. Could you imagine being that guy? There's a guy in our shop. A lot of them are Sox fans, and he's got that the Cubs song,
Oh,
and it comes on, and he purposely hits his volume up just so it sounds like he's calling. And then he'll have his wife and friends call him throughout the day just to fire people up.
I, lo- I love it.
I love it. He's instantly your favorite guy, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
Blake says, yeah, I wasn't thinking about Weaver. You're correct. Uh, let's see. Vizzo Joe. I love some of this, man, because some of these guys update us on stuff that we might have missed. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Vizzo Joe says Todd Monken stock going up tonight. Oh, you know what? You're right. What's going on with that Baltimore game? I know they were up big time against the Steelers. Is that over with?
Uh, yeah, I'd assume so because I got wrapped up with this and forgot to look at the final.
I assume so. Yeah, there's probably already up comments. A lot to do. So let's move forward. Ron Rivera will be in person and counts towards Rooney.
Uh-oh, it's just me. I think we lost tracks here, so we will be back momentarily.
There we go. We're back. My bad, guys. So, yeah, as I was saying, basically as a person, as a human being, Hey, sorry about that, guys. I got a connection issue. I'm back. Hopefully, we're here. We can go ahead and finish up the show. I got Big Game James with us. In case
Yeah.
I lose connection, hopefully he could stay with. Let's go ahead.
Oh, well, we just lost tracks again. Let's see if I can. It's not showing me questions here. Bear with us here. We're having technical difficulties again. Because I would ask the questions if I had them.
There we go. All right. If this doesn't work out, I'm going to switch over to my phone so I can get through all these questions for you guys. I appreciate you. Skip Johnson says Ravens won. Zach Wilson says you hate Aaron Rodgers. Yes, I do. Um, I hate him because he owned us for far too long, but now Caleb owns the Packers. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, Zach Wilson. No, Vizzo Joe, the show didn't end. We're just having internet issues. We rarely do. Thanks for hanging out with us. Sco6 Trey, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate you. What's up, Bears Junkie? Bear down. I wouldn't hate it if Rivera was picked. Plank, as always, good to see you. Sounds like Vabro and Pats are working on a contract. Yeah, I've seen that too. We're back, LOL. Sorry, guys, it's been a rough one. Just having some internet issues. Thank you, too, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you. Great show. I'm glad that James Turler says Aaron Rodgers is a bum. I want to say goodnight to you guys before I lose connection again. I don't know what's going on in the building, but I appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a good review. Y'all know what to do. I appreciate your view. You guys are awesome. You guys are family. And as always, make sure you have a good weekend with your family, with your friends, man. If you're by yourself, if you need someone to talk to, hit me up, man. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Instagram, I'm locked out right now, but you can hit me up on Facebook, and we're on everything. We're on freaking TikTok. We're on all that stuff, man. X app. We're everywhere. So you can't run away from us. We know how to find you. Love you guys, man. Have a good night. Be great tomorrow. Be great tonight. Have a good night's sleep. And Chi Town up and bear down, guys. See ya.